I give you some colored pencil techniques labeled here. First is overlapping. All right, the overlapping technique is blending colors over one another to create a completely new color. That's what the first section here is. It says, using the overlapping technique, apply two hues in the outer edges of the rings and on the inside. Blend the two together. Now, for this, you're going to be using two colors that you don't know what they're going to become. Yes. Yes. Right there. So, I did two circles already, and I used a green and a mulberry because I wanted to see what color I would get in the middle. And with this, you're going to be building two colors. So obviously, if you use red and yellow, you know what color you're going to make on the inside. So I just picked two other random colors. I have this peach and I have this pink. All right? Wanted to see what color I would create in the middle. So what you're going to do with all of these techniques is start off lightly. Use the side of the pencil, and instead of coloring linear so you see the lines, use the side of the pencil and color in small ovals. Okay? I'm making an enlarged example here. You want the color to be flat and smooth, but you don't want this area for it to be overly intense. So I'm using the side of the pencil, I'm doing small circles. When I get to the overlap area, I'm just putting the light to medium pressure inside the circle. I'm using control and developing that area of color. So now when I overlap with the other color, I can do the same thing. All right, small ovals as I color, and I'm developing this new color, which is very similar to a skin tone. And as I fill in the other part of the circle, you'll see just the straight colored pencil hue. And there you get that color. It's a different. You can see the difference between the two. Okay. Next section is a gradient and warm gray. This is the gradient here, and this is the warm gray here. This is a sample of how the lighting is going to affect the shape. Obviously, if the light source with this arrow is from the top, the highlight is going to be in the middle, and then it's going to slowly get darker as I work my way out. On the gradient one, you could use any color you want. All right. I need to know which side the light source is coming from. It says, using the gradient and warm gray technique, apply a little black lightly at the bottom of the shape. That's on the warm gray one. All right. This one you're not putting warm gray. This one's just a color gradient. Next, apply the hue to the top of the shape and blend the two together, creating an implied shadow. Be aware of the light source direction. So how do I know what light source direction this one is?
The sun.
Yes, I look at the cast shadow. So in that case, the light source is coming from here. All right, when we did the spheres on the value exercise, this is the same thing. I need to establish the highlight first. So I'm going to hold the pencil lightly, and I'm going to create that elliptical highlight first. Where the light source is, and again, work light to dark so you can see it's barely showing any tone. And then as I work my way away from the highlight, I can increase pressure. I can just put the whole thing in first with a light tone if I wanted to. Again, see how I'm using the side of the pencil. I'm trying to follow the contour of the object. Now as I work my way out from the highlight, I'm going to increase pressure. So I slide my finger down a little bit. And at the furthest point from the light, obviously it's going to be more intense. I'm going to increase the pressure. Towards the bottom, it's also going to be more intense. But this is not a good gradient because you can see the line that separates. You see the line and how it separates it. And that does not show good transition. So you need to vary the pressure from down here as you work your way out to the highlight. Increase pressure down here, and then as you work your way towards the highlight, decrease pressure. You're creating a color value scale now. Alright, so I'm still pretty light in here. I want to darken up as I go, working light to dark. And you're trying to give this object depth and dimension. Now the cast shadow, you can just use the black, clean up the edge, and then you can also transition the black a little bit out with a value. Alright? So you see how that gives that object depth and dimension? And the warm gray one says apply a little black lightly at the bottom. Now the light source is, which direction is the light source coming on this one? Top left, top right, center? Top left. Alright, so first thing, lightly at the bottom, where I put the darkest of the blue here, I'm going to put a warm gray. So it's about a medium pressure, light pressure with the black. Alright. I've been doing it a while. Okay, now I can pick any other color I want for this. Let's see, I'll go with this green. Now I'm just going to do the same thing I did on this side by establishing the highlight first. And working my way out. And then where I overlap the two, I create a shade of green. And I can burnish that area. Somebody read the burnishing technique out loud to me. It's up at the top in the list.
Oh. Using a colorless blender or a white to soften where colors overlap one another.
Alright, so in this case I'm not using the white or the colorless blender. I'm just using the colored pencil itself. And I create that shade of green. I'm going to do the same thing as I work my way towards the highlight. I transition the value by lessening the pressure to create that three-dimensional form. I need to see those values transition in color. Okay? So that gives you nice depth and dimension, gives it really good third dimension. Now, section 3. With the 6 colors of the color wheel, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Alright, so I got red, got my pencils here. I would suggest that you use the lighter of the blues depending on what you have in your set. So I'm just taking these here. Okay, this is a lighter of the 2 blues, a lighter of the greens, and the violet. Alright. So with the 6 colors, create an analogous color blend starting with any color. Make your transition smooth and your colors intense. Okay, so I've got 4, 5, 6 colors, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas of what kind of colors are those going to be where they overlap? Tertiary colors, very good. Alright, so I can start with any color. I don't have to start with red. Okay, so I'm going to start with yellow, and I'm going to press hard in here, in this area. Now when you create a tertiary color with colored pencil, the best way to do it is, what color, if I start yellow, what's the next color on the wheel? Green. Alright, so if I start with yellow, it doesn't matter, I said you can start with any color. Alright, so with the yellow, I need to go to green. Now, when you do tertiary colors with colored pencils, always start with the darker value color first, and then overlap and burnish with the lighter of the 2 values. So what color am I making in there? Yellow-green, tertiary color. Primary name's always first. Okay? So I need to put down the green first with light pressure. Okay, watch as I do this. So I put the green down with light pressure in the overlap area. And then in the green area I can go in a little bit heavier. Now I'm going to overlap and press hard to blend these two colors together and create my yellow-green. Alright, you can see the yellow-green. I'll finish the green. What's my next color?
Blue.
Right, what's the tertiary name?
Blue.
Good. What's the darker value between these two?
Blue.
Blue. So I need to put the blue in here first. Light to medium pressure. Alright. Then in here I'm going to make the blue intense by pressing harder. And now I need to burnish with the green, overlap the blue with a little more pressure, and I neatly and cleanly make my blue-green color. It's hard to see with this, but it's definitely there. What you end up with is violet, blue, blue-green, green, yellow-green, yellow, yellow-orange, orange, red-orange, red.
Can we start with red?
Yes, you can start with red. The only color you're not going to get is the tertiary for the other two, which is no big deal. All right? Now the last section, this is going to take a little while, but works really well. You're using the same tertiaries, primary, secondaries, and tertiaries. So it says, tints and shades, use the color hue listed, fill in the boxes accordingly. Remember to apply black lightly first at the bottom. So I need to get my black and white. Okay? Here is yellow. So my first color is yellow. In the center box, I'm just going to put the yellow hue, solid. Alright? Now with the tint of yellow, I'm going to add what color?
White.
So when I put the yellow here, I'm going to put it in with light pressure. See how it's a little bit lighter than the yellow in the center square, or center rectangle. When I put the shade down, I need to put the darker value down. So it's the warm gray technique. So I use the black lightly in this area first. If you wanted to go through every single shade and put the warm gray in first, you can. Okay? Totally acceptable to do that. Now when I overlap yellow with black, I'm going to create a shade of yellow. I'm going to press hard. And I'm going to end up with a shade of yellow. When I overlap the tint, I use the white over the yellow, and now I'm burnishing with white, and you can see how it'll make a nice, smooth, lighter version of the yellow. When you do the tertiaries, yellow-green, do the same technique that you did before. Always apply the darker value down first lightly. Okay, so yellow-green here, even on the tint and the shade. So lightly with the green first, lightly with the green first here. Then I take my yellow, I mix to make the yellow-green. I overlap lightly in the tint, and I overlap lightly, press harder with the shade to make the yellow-green shade. Now, last step, burnish the white over top of the tint, and you'll see a tint of yellow-green. So I have the tint of yellow-green, hue of yellow-green, shade of yellow-green. And what you'll end up with in this section is an accurate representation of a color hue and a shade of each of the 12 colors in your color wheel. Okay? Are there any questions on this? You do not need to finish this today, but you are going to try to start it as soon as you're done mounting and